throughout all these years, and we will dive deeper into the journey as well, what were the most frightening decisions that you as a CEO and founder, or as Dennis as a person, had to make?
Yeah, so I mean, I was at Foursquare 13 years, right? And so I was CEO of the company for 6 years, and then I was the executive chairman for 7 years. Is that right? Yeah. But after that, and as executive chairman, I was running the Foursquare Labs R&D group. And so it's just like startups are a roller coaster anyway, like a roller coaster of just like emotions and energy and drama. And I feel like the longer the startup goes on, like the longer the roller coaster ride goes on. Like it really never gets easier, never gets any less wild. Maybe the problems get bigger or smaller, but it's always the same thing. Some of the trickier things I think were in the very early days of Foursquare. We experienced like the out of control growth that you really just can't keep up with. Where you'd have like 1 million users join the service in a given month. And so that breaks everything in terms of, technical scaling and customer service and, moderation, just a lot of things buckle under the weight of that. We went through the same challenges with scaling the company, growing it from like 6 people to 30 to 100, and having to reinvent, kind of the processes that we used internally and, the internal, we had to make lots of changes to kind of keep the culture the way that we wanted to. I think, probably one of the trickiest things we dealt with was, just all the interest that we had. We had lots of different acquisition offers early in the company, and we had to weigh, is that something that we want to do? Or do we want to take a shot at building something like big and meaningful for the long haul? And, in hindsight, it's kind of easy to kind of, play, play it back and figure out like, oh, what did we do? Like, what were we thinking about? But in the moment, like you've got problems on top of problems on top of problems. And, everyone talks about like, oh, those are good problems to have. But like, good problems to have, once you have them, they're just problems. Right. And so like, yeah, you still gotta solve. But yeah, we lived through a lot. It was a pretty wild experience.
I know you talked about it so often, but as somebody who was not familiar with your story, maybe a few listeners would love to understand why you didn't take the acquisition offers, because we can spoiler now, you still haven't sold the company, so they definitely were declined. What made you stick to the company and saying, okay, we want to build it on our own without somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, I had my first company, Dodgeball. We sold it to Google, right? And we didn't get to fulfill what I thought was like the vision for that product, and it was a good exit for us personally, but it was frustrating. It was very frustrating to leave that behind. And so when we started another company and put a lot of effort into it, and we kind of fell in love with the company, and you fall in love with the user base that you have, and then someone wants to come along and buy it. And, my experience at that point was like, we sold Dodgeball too early, right? We could have turned it into something great. And I didn't want to sell Foursquare too early. We had a big vision for what we wanted to do, and we had we're assembling a great team. I thought we had a good moment in time. So we just kept kind of pushing at it. And so, we had acquisition offers from a number of different companies over the years. And, we've said no, just about every single time. Well, yes, every single time, right? Company is still private. I like to think that at some point we'll figure out a way to take the company public. It's a kind of a tricky moment in time to do that with the public markets and the economy right now. But Foursquare has built a pretty interesting business. Had scalable, repeatable revenue. Like we tick a lot of the boxes of what it requires to take a company public. So I like to think that that's something that could possibly happen in the future for us.